and welcome back to another special edition of Grind Music and Repeat. It's your host, Draquan, Hood Rock TV, whatever y'all like to do with that. I got a special guest with me today, and we speaking from across the water over there in England. How are you doing today, Mr. Sean B.W. Parker?
Oh, I'm great, thank you. Thank you for that lovely intro. Good to be here.
Yeah, man. You said it was some wintry weather going on over there?
Yes, it's freezing outside. The
Yeah.
proper English winter has
Mhm.
descended. So
Yes.
cozy inside though. Nice here.
Yeah. So first I want to ask you, how you doing?
I'm fine. I'm always pretty balanced and happy. I'm getting on with life. Thank you for asking.
Yeah. Okay, man. I thank you for joining on the show. And here on Grind Music Repeat, where if it ain't about music, we really can't use it. And then this is our first time getting to express the band aspect of it over here. Mr. Sean B.W. Park. Let's get into some of your story. Like, how did you get started in your music experience?
In the late 80s, at school, like at the secondary school, we call it here, or high school for you, about 13 or 14, 88, 89, listening to things like The Cure and Public Enemy and all kinds of different things that were going on in the late 80s, Prince. And me and my compadres at the school in Wales got together, started a band, which basically turned into a grunge band, which would have been the style of the time. Very loud guitars, very chaotic, great fun. And started drinking and all the rest of it. So it was back then, Sweet Assassin we were called. And we got quite big in the local area for a bunch of kids. And that was the start of the whole journey. 35 years ago, is it? Something like that?
35 years. So like, as far as like, some of your greatest experiences of being in the band. Well, no. Let's go to your role in the band. What was your role in the band?
At that time, it was meant to be guitar and just pretty much that. But the band pretty soon realized that I had a different application to it. I was much more serious about it than they were. That they were having fun. I was having fun too, but I was like already going, this is an art form, you know? And so I started to conceptualize and become the accidental leader. And then because I was writing the songs then, I started to sing them. So I was just accidentally that, and the guys were doing backing vocals. And so, I accidentally became the leader just by being the one who was most committed to what we were doing as a 15-year-old, not a 49.
Yeah, that's amazing right there. So as far as like from a writer standpoint, like, cause I do hip hop. Like, so how could you say like writing for like music to perform on stage, like for a band, would be different from like as far as like any other form of writing?
I suppose when it comes to hip hop, which as you can tell, I've got a lifelong love for. I can't do it myself particularly well, you know, but it's like when you hear hip hop live, you are hearing, when it's well done, you're hearing sounds which have existed before and they're being replayed, right? So it's like a live, but you're trying to stitch it together in a compelling way. When you plug in an electric guitar and do a chord, it hasn't been done before. It's electrified, but it's still it's a more original than that sample, and it doesn't make it any better, but it just makes it more sort of predictable, I suppose. So I suppose any DJ will know what I'm talking about, trying to get the balance of those sounds right, and the mix is so important. But when you got guitar and the drums and whatnot together, all banging away together, as long as it's out there, you're having a punk time, you know. So I think it's probably easier with guitars and stuff, basically.
Yes, because I would think like trying to get a guitar EQ, like what's like, as far as like you got a gig tonight and y'all got to come in and then y'all got to hook up y'all equipment, like how do y'all balance out like y'all sound before like a sound check or something like that?
Yeah, that was always a really contentious point back in the day of getting to like a pub here, having to negotiate with the landlord who's only caring about beer sales and explaining to him, always him, what, you know, you're trying to achieve your vision there in the corner of a pub. And he's like, I don't care. So you're trying to plug in your amps, which aren't working. Some work, the leads are broken, all of those technical things, which are all training and learning. But they take away from your interpretation of the song. You know, by the time you're on stage singing, you've had a couple of pints of cider as a teenager, and you're like, at least we're here. But initially you're very nervous because boys get nervous, right?
Yeah.
So it's like it was very dramatic, very good fun, and
Yeah.
very, now looking back on it, very
Yeah.
rewarding.
Yeah.
But back then I would have been really
Yeah.
stressed out by it, I'm sure.
Okay. Okay. So you say you working on another album, and that will be your sixth. So, like, of your previous 5 albums, which one would be your favorite?
Oh, that's such a difficult question. I'm going to go for the last one because I think that's the
Okay.
sensiblest thing, because they are all so
Yeah.
different. I can't do.
Yeah.
Um,
Uh-huh.
the last one was called Caucasian Nights,
Mhm.
beginning of 2024, so the beginning
Yeah.
of this year or wherever
Yeah.
we are.
Mhm.
And that was very hip hop influenced, just in
Mm.
sounds. It's
Mhm.
an album of poetry being read by me, poetry
Yes.
I've written over the last 5 or so
Mhm.
years, set to samples, guitar samples,
Mhm.
public announcement sample,
Yeah.
sound collage,
Mhm.
Beck, Public Enemy, the things we're mentioning,
Mhm.
shit that I
That
love
that
forever,
mess you were speaking of. Yeah.
yeah, all those things, and
Mhm.
done in
Mhm.
my done. Let's be honest with you and your audience. Done in a
Mhm.
Caucasian way, so
Yeah.
it's white hip hop. Let's not
Yeah.
mess about, because
Yeah.
that's what I am, and that's what
That's what it
is going
is.
on
Yeah.
within that.
I
I
respect
sing
it.
and I have sung, but this is
Mhm.
like about poetry, words to rhythm.
Yeah.
But it's not
Mhm.
Eminem. It's not. It doesn't have that
Yeah.
kind of zip 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 thing, because
Uh-huh.
I'm not that.
Yeah, I respect that, because I think as far as like as music in general, there's always like a underlying like level of poetry that exists with it. It's an art form. It could be very expressionate, or it could be what make you wondering where is the expression. The closer you look, the less you see. It might could be abstract. Can you speak upon that?
You put that really well.
Yeah.
I love my poetry, like from
Mhm.
Walt Whitman over there to
Mhm.
Dylan Thomas over here, and I'm
Yeah.
a deep lover of this stuff. Not
Mhm.
a doctor, but I
Yeah.
really enjoy it. But I
Yes,
don't
sir.
love them any more than I love Chuck D,
Mhm.
Public
Yeah.
Enemy, and I mean that.
Yeah.
That guy trained me in.
Mhm.
There's the political aspect, which is
Yeah.
difficult for a white English boy to empathise with, but the
Mhm.
passion with which he did it and the
Yeah.
flow,
Yeah.
understanding what a beat and a rhyme meant
Mhm.
with that degree of
Yeah.
passion of his voice,
Yeah.
was like,
Mhm.
wow, absolutely mind opening.
Yeah.
Even from thousands of miles away. And that
Yeah.
just led me on to lots of other rappers, but they didn't get
Mhm.
to his level in my brain because,
Yeah.
he's just a
Yeah.
master of it. So,
Mhm.
talking poetry, the way he would structure the words, a couple of the
Mhm.
metaphors, music is our message, for example. It's a bit too
Mhm.
much for me. It didn't work.
Yeah.
But there's many songs, and loads of the songs are just absolutely
Yeah.
brilliant. Don't believe the hype. Still top of my Spotify list every single day. I'm sure I hear that
Mhm.
every other day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's so there. I
Mhm.
don't know why I'm going on about Public Enemy so much. There's lots that I like, but
Hey, that's
just in terms of
love it.
poetry, it's
Mhm.
poetry.
So, like, as far as like, what kind of effect did the Beatles have on the way you make music?
The Beatles, wow.
Yes.
They invented the worldwide industry, music industry, to be honest. No one ever
Yeah.
really talks about that. But
Okay.
EMI wasn't EMI before they did what they did. So,
Okay.
industry-wise, which is of
Yeah.
interest,
Mhm.
they shaped it, and their success gave everybody else the energy to come afterwards.
That's
Um,
amazing.
you know, in 6 years, 64 to 70, to
Mhm.
produce like 12 albums of solid A1 excellence and beyond
Yeah.
A1, because nothing really gets close to it. David
Yeah.
Bowie and sort of Prince
Yeah.
are wonderful, but the
Mhm.
Beatles are the Beatles, and there's this mix
Yeah.
of men which works
Yeah.
so beautifully. And the
Yes.
experimentation, it's always easier to do the experimentation first, right? So they
Yes.
did do all those interesting new things first,
Mhm.
then
Yeah.
everybody else is following, and then it becomes a genre.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
like Paul McCartney doing Helter Skelter in
Mhm.
1968, Led Zeppelin took that 2 years ago and created heavy metal. So
Yeah.
you're putting there,
Something else. Offer
you
something
know,
else.
yeah. But they didn't invent jazz, and they didn't
Mhm.
invent the blues. That came from somewhere else, as we know
Yeah.
well. So they
Yeah.
actually incorporated that into what they
Yeah.
do, and
Mhm.
they made it Liverpudlian, of course. And
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
why cultural appropriation is a bit of a problem subject, because they made
Yeah.
original art forms really
Right.
popular in a really compelling way. So
Yeah. Think with them, like my line of sight, like music doesn't have a color. It represents people, you know, like people in the like-minded, or like in a certain atmosphere of thought. And that's where I get the music from. Like even like maybe Earth, Wind and Fire, you know, even though I do hip hop, even though like I could still listen to maybe let's see, a Fran Ferdinand, or the BGs, or you know, I could still be able to access that, even though just like how you speak about Public Enemy. That's amazing right there. That's
Oh,
amazing. Yeah.
that's really cool to hear. Really refreshing because
Yes, sir.
it's really nice because we live in these binary times. It's
Hmm.
very quite annoying in culture.
Yes.
So it's really
Yes.
nice to hear that still going on in music
Yes.
because I'm
Yeah.
like that as well, as you can probably tell.
Hmm. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So as far as like challenges, like what's some challenges you've seen like that you faced, like creating music, or going to perform music, or just making music in general?
Hmm. Um, the producers don't care about your artistic vision, and the executives, of course, and you sort of expect that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so throughout the '90s and whatnot, it's not like I only got serious about music probably 2003 after my university years. And I'm like, right,
Hmm.
let's make something, and I did my first
Yeah.
album. So throughout the '90s, I was not. Um, if I'd gone to a record company and say, "I'll do whatever you want," and I'll be
Yeah.
Oasis, you know,
Yeah.
something might have happened. But I
Hmm.
don't go at things that way. I don't go at
Hmm.
success first. I go at
Yeah.
artistry first, and
Yes.
because of that, I'm not Michael Jackson.
Yes.
I'm me, and I'm
Hmm.
an indie artist. I
Yeah.
accept that quite happily. And if there's ever a hit, it's because something's accidentally gone well. And I
Yeah.
don't. And I'm a slow builder. I like being a slow builder. I've got no problem with that.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
I'm not any. And like the vast majority of musicians we know, there's no
Hmm.
massive star thing attached to it, except for the fact that you know, one successes are one successes, and they're okay. I've got a
Yeah.
few 100,000 Spotify streams. That makes me happy because people
Hmm.
out there in the world listening, you have no idea who they
Yeah.
are. That's all
I don't
great,
even
you know.
know. Yeah.
So um, the challenges are like the internet destroyed everything around 2000, but
Mm.
they destroyed something I wasn't a part of. So
Yeah.
a couple of years later, I started putting the albums out on the internet whilst it was
Hmm.
coming up again. So
Yeah.
I haven't known any big fall. I've just known
Yeah.
this paradigm, you know. But I come
Hmm.
from the last one with cassettes
Yeah.
and you know.
Yeah. That's amazing that you speak on that, because so you was actually creating music as the switch kind of was happening, as far as like from cassette to CD-ROM, and then CD-ROM to MP3. So you've seen all three of those like switches.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. The first sort of the demo tape we did with Sweet
Hmm.
Assassin. That band was in
Yeah.
92, I think. So
Hmm.
so we actually had the tape and we took it home.
Yeah.
But this tape didn't become a mass-produced thing. But it went off to a
Right.
bunch of record companies and things.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
it was sort of produced too professionally. It was like we're trying to be something that we're not. I
Yeah.
haven't heard it for years, but I knew it was like not the garage band that we are, you know. So it
Hmm.
started to teach me what you need to be real on any recording that you've
Yeah.
done. Otherwise,
Hmm.
however things
Yeah.
sound,
Hmm.
it's not the way. You need to put it out there as yourself. Otherwise, it's
Hmm.
not very compelling. You know. So yeah,
Yeah.
all the changes that you mentioned, I saw.
Hmm.
And once I
Yeah.
realized, yeah, this seems to happen every 10 years. This is just
Yeah.
an industry. We
Yeah.
get emotionally attached to a record, right? And a
Yes.
cassette.
Yeah.
Why
Yeah.
part of
Hmm.
what we're doing. Then you go,
Yeah.
they've been fooling us here. And
Yeah.
so once you realize that, you start to
Hmm.
ride it a bit more and just go
Yeah.
putting yourself out there, doing the expression, using your
Hmm.
skills to make something
Yes.
better.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that.
So, besides cassette and getting into the MP3 kind of aspect, what's some ways that you've seen music change, like as far as positively, and then what's some ways you would want to keep it, still keep growing and building and changing, as far as like music in general?
I suppose with YouTube like coming in 2005,
Mhm.
and I
Yeah.
put out my first album 2005, and the internet started to be something
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
That felt that felt kind of
Yeah.
punk-ish
Hmm.
and early days hip hop too. That kind of
Hmm.
everyone's making something and
Yeah.
what's going to come up.
Right.
That's really cool for the sense of
Hmm.
energetic music, but it
Yeah.
also means that every guy has got got a person who's listened to a YouTube video 50 times by his family.
Yeah.
You know, these things are not, you know, if everyone's got something, then there's too much access, it's too easy.
Yeah.
And we give it away because,
Yeah.
you know, we've got various marketing ways of doing this now. So I quite like the way that the music industry's recovered now, and it's making more money than ever by embracing the internet. It had to, and now it's worked out the market. So I'm happy for it. I still don't really quite understand it. I'm not tech enough to do that. I just, you know, deliver my stuff and hope for the best and talk on the social media and see what happens, you know. So now it's a net good. 20 years after the start of the internet proper, it's sort of kind of good, and I like it and I appreciate it. And I've got over my, you know, I've got a collection of sort of records over there. I never listen to those. I don't know about you. I listen to my Spotify because this is life and it's easy and it's really well done. So and with Spotify, you get given this extra track afterwards that you haven't heard before by the same artist. Really cool. They're not going to get that from the vinyl that I've got over there, am I? So you know, it's a benefit.
Yeah, that's beautiful right there. Say you go. You know what? I wanna express some artistry today. Like, what's your writing process sounding like? Do you need a couple riffs from that guitar first before you get into that zone of writing, or what you thinking?
Yeah, I actually, if I get in the creative mood, which is really good these days post COVID, I've got the paintings that you can see behind me, so I do that as a part of writing, creating.
That's amazing.
And also the writing itself. Right now, I've got like a collection of things collected up. So I'm much more in the collage position of the writing because there's all kinds of different stages. So what I do now, what I did for Dinosaur, the new album, is to get the poetry that still affects me from written over those difficult years and fit them to whatever's going on in my music files, which can be a riff and an idea that I had a few years ago, or a sample that I picked up, or a beat that I found or put together. Sort of stitch them together with various tech and do the delivery of the poem in my boring voice. And then I've actually got a rap when I do it right. You know what I mean? So you kind of when the two things get together,
some rhythm in there.
So, answer to your question is that the writing for me these days is it's a process of collage, oral collage, and I'm quite enjoying that because in the past I was a band guy doing band things. Now I'm more of a solo artist doing collage things, and that's the reality of where I am right now.
Because I could definitely think about that as far as myself. Like they certain, like as far as like certain songs I could sit down and write like down in one sitting, but then they certain pieces of certain other material that I've already written, and then okay, dang, this goes nice with this. If I take this, I can take this and put this with that, and then now I got something else I can build with. It was previously unfinished, but then I added something to it, and then now it's a finished product, and now it's uncharted territory, and we don't know what it is yet. Now we got to get in the studio. Yeah, that's what I was thinking about right there. Yeah,
totally, and it's very exciting when it works, and when you've got the energies going in the right direction, you can feel something happen because you haven't thought about that and you haven't thought about that. Put them together, it's like whoa, something happened.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
It's a musical experimentation form as any other, isn't it? And you don't let the audience know that too much because they sort of think you're just like a computer guy. You're like, no, it's not just computers. It's about your ears.
Right.
You get it to work with various bits of tech and all kinds of things around.
Right. So how would you say you created your style? Like, or is it just something you happen to grow into? Like your style of creation? Like, is it something you just grew into? Is it like did Public Enemy give you the knowledge, like this is what you gonna do, Sean B. W. Parker, this is what you gonna do, Chuck D got you, like, so how your creation of your style?
Wow. If they were an inspiration, it's too high a bar to ever sort of to try towards. So it's like it's a bad idea to try and copy these heroes. I think you kind of accept what you do quite early on and go, this is what I do and what I'm comfortable with. And which is quite complex writing. I love the English language. I love to write in the English language and to play with it and to manipulate it and to craft poetry that way. So
Yes.
there's that added to my love of indie music, and that's art rock, and that's hip hop, and that's
Hmm.
jazz, and it's all kinds of
Yes.
anything compelling
Hmm.
makes my heart soar. So I want that
Yeah.
to communicate to somebody else, and that's a lifetime's ambition to see what if that will ever happen, and it apparently happens all the time. So you're like,
Yeah.
um, I put those two things together, constantly seeing what the result's going to be, and you can
Hmm.
never say exactly what the success of that is, and that's why I've got
Yeah.
a lot of different sort of sounding sounds in my catalog.
Hmm.
I'm very
Yeah.
happy about that. It's eclectic stuff. You can't
Hmm.
say Sean sounds like this much.
Yeah.
David Bowie is an enormous hero of mine. All my
Yeah.
pals know
Yeah.
that, and he was incredibly eclectic, so I respect
Hmm.
that. As
Yeah.
was Prince. Public Enemy are in the hip hop genre, and of
Yeah.
course, and the beats that they manipulated
Hmm.
are
Yeah.
part of me too. So
Hmm.
we go for these big old names right now, but there's also a
Hmm.
million smaller names that I know about and
Yes. Yeah. Hmm.
operate into. But
Yeah.
what I do is color. I'm a very colorful artist. This is
Hmm.
colorful here, that's colorful there. I
Yes.
put it together. I
Hmm.
trust in luck, and
Hmm.
sometimes that works out really well. And there can be some real polishing to be done, but not too
Hmm.
much. If you're doing too much polishing, there's a problem.
Yeah. Okay. As far as like being a creative, like being, having the creativity, sometimes we struggle to find that as far as that motivation or that certain kind of drive that push us to do better and greater things in music. Like when you don't feel motivated or you ain't got a lot of creativity going on, or it's just you trying to manufacture something or forge it through fire. What's some ways that you can do that to get back in there and keep on thinking about music?
I guess I'm quite fortunate on that question. I don't get
Hmm.
writer's block, thankfully.
Hmm.
Touch wood.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
And I don't want to make anyone feel bad, but I'm just
No, no, we're
fortunate
not.
in
No,
going.
we're not.
You know,
Yeah.
you just sort of start. If you're feeling stuck, and that's fine,
Hmm.
but you want to make anyway, just start, make a mark, write out. I woke up this morning and then just
Yeah.
write what happened next,
Yeah.
and then afterwards do the editing when you've written a little story, because you'll
Hmm.
find that you've accidentally written. The
Yeah.
desire to write is often a problem. You just need to accidentally write and then
Yeah.
see what you've done afterwards.
Hmm.
And the good thing about having done a bunch of things,
Hmm.
6 albums, 9 books, is that
Hmm.
you can look back to that and go, there's a wealth of material, so I can work forward with,
Hmm.
happily and freely without being bogged down by it.
Yeah.
And because I haven't got a massive hit behind me, sort of going,
Uh-huh.
now everything needs to be as good as Thriller, right?
Yes.
Imagine that pressure in life.
Yeah. That's a,
So I don't have that going on. Let's go. Where am I now? What's
yeah.
next? And let's go on
Yeah.
with what next. And
Hmm.
then it starts to build on its own way, and then
Hmm.
the totality of what you made is
Yeah.
um, is the pleasure in itself, and you can see what you
Yes.
do, which is
Hmm.
this weird art rock rhythm stuff.
Yeah. I see it like sometimes like it's we might kind of trick ourselves as creatives sometimes where it's like, you know what? I'm doing this for a completely different reason. Sometimes I'll find something nice to write to, but I don't have to make a song to it. So it's just certain kind of ways that we can motivate ourselves to keep doing stuff and maybe do something different for a different result. That's what I would be thinking right there. And then you said you wrote 9 books. How do you write 9 books?
Yeah, it's an extension of the same vibe that the albums come from. It's a
Hmm.
different medium, but it's the
Yeah.
same expression. In the 1990s, I would sit down with my ex-wife and sort of a
Hmm.
domestic situation and watch telly
Yeah.
of an evening.
Yeah.
I think, don't ask me why. Well, I tell you why. Since 1997, since my dad
Yeah.
died, I just haven't
God
been that
bless the
TV
dead.
watching bloke. Yeah, I
Hmm.
haven't been that TV watching bloke. I've been going out
Yeah.
there doing things, trying to, you know, when something like that happens, I think something happens
Hmm.
in a young man and in all
Yeah.
sorts of young people, I'm sure, to sort of
Hmm.
go, right, what am I going to do? So
Yeah.
since then, for the last 25 years, of an
Hmm.
evening, I'm writing, I'm making a book, I'm doing editing, I'm talking to an editor, I'm
Hmm.
making something go forward in my
Yeah.
creative life. And that makes me
Yeah.
happy. Lots
Hmm.
of people like it. The books came when I was living in Istanbul and I was
Hmm.
doing the music out there. All the ideas I was collecting, when I got back from Istanbul, I started to
Yeah.
collect them into sort of tomes, and they became
Mm-hmm.
10 years worth of books. So it's
Yeah.
like, right,
Yeah.
time for this new genre. That was
Uh-huh.
10 years ago now. So
Yeah. So you say you're working on a new album,
yeah.
Dinosaur. What's
Mm.
the inspiration for this album? How do we get here?
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
it's finished now. This is the
Okay.
first time I've spoken about it in public. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a couple of weeks ago was completed. It's
Yeah.
called. It's an extension of Caucasian Nights, which was the
Uh-huh.
last one. With
Uh-huh.
the album before that, Ninja Lit in 2015, that was
Uh-huh.
the start of this experimentation poetry to put and sort of collage
Yeah.
thing. I've so enjoyed it so much. This is now the third like
Mm-hmm.
that. With Ninja Lit was extremely dark. I don't recommend it
Yeah.
to any listeners unless
Yeah.
they're crazy. Caucasian Nights is much more funky from last year. And
Mm-hmm.
this one, Dinosaur,
Yeah.
I'm talking without anybody having heard it. So I'm
Yeah.
like, I
I
don't know.
thank you so much.
Well, yeah, it's a rock and roll album.
Mm-hmm.
It's not heavy metal. It's rock and
Okay.
roll with hip hop beats all the way through it. It's a really
Mm-hmm.
good time thing, but it's
Yeah.
also got a real tinge of false allegation.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a concept album about false allegations and wrongful convictions, which have been so
Ooh.
much in the news for the last 4
Yeah.
years
Okay.
here and in America, and
Mm-hmm.
I feel very strongly about them. So there's a
Mm-hmm.
definite underlie
Yeah.
concept of that
Yeah.
underneath these quite good time rock and
Yeah.
roll tracks. So that's my. Let's see what your audience think about it if it's out by the
Yeah.
time this is.
Yeah. So how do you get the name though? How do we get Dinosaur the name? What made you choose that?
Dinosaur, yeah. It's because of the culture wars, to be honest. I like the culture
Mm-hmm.
wars. The last book I
Yeah.
wrote was A Delicate Balance of Reason, Adventures in the Culture
Mm.
Wars, which
Mm.
is BLM and Me Too
Yeah.
and Trump and Brexit,
Mhm.
all these hot
Yeah.
points, which are,
Yeah.
you know, they have their own stories. So
Mhm.
a writer's going to write about that.
Yeah.
Dinosaur is because I'm a now approaching middle-aged white male, English male,
Mhm.
which apparently is
Yeah.
the most privileged person in the world, right? But the fact is that I've never known privilege my entire life. But
Yeah.
I'm a dinosaur for even expressing that. So,
Oh, okay. Okay.
so there's a
Okay.
slight tinge of that. I
Mhm.
like the band, the Dinosaur Jr. from the grunge
Mhm.
era. They're an
Okay.
amazing original grunge band. So there's a
Mhm.
nod to that from the past.
Yeah.
And the word sort of dinosaurs, a cool kind of word. Jurassic Park is a
Yeah.
cultural
Like
thing for everybody's head. So
yeah.
all those things together. And the cover's this
Mhm.
mad psychedelic looking dinosaur. It's a brilliant cover. It's better than the album.
Yeah. Okay. 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 So other than the new album coming up, is there any other like releases you have or any other books we writing or thinking about? We motivated to do something else? How we thinking?
Yeah. I have been actually sort of trying to get an arts book over
Mhm.
the not self-published pre-order line. I've got a
Mhm.
publisher. They need a certain amount of pre-orders before they. What I'm
Yeah.
trying to do is get this art book, which is pure art,
Uh-huh.
out before Christmas.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if it's going to happen. It's been a real struggle getting it
Okay.
out there. So that's a
Yeah.
thing we've been working on for a month or so. But
Mhm.
going into you've caught me at a real transition time. Here we are,
Yeah.
2025. You've
Uh-huh.
got a new
Yeah.
president. We've
Yeah.
got a communist situation over here. So it's like, as we go into as we go into the next year,
Yeah.
Dinosaur, and I
Uh-huh.
will be publishing a new book next year, but I'm not quite
Okay.
sure which of two it's going to be. So I've got two written.
Oh, okay. So they a
Uh,
lot in the works. Yeah.
yes, I'll kind of
Yes.
come back on after I know what it is and tell you.
Yeah, that's what we'll do. That's what we'll do. We'll make time for that. We'll make time for that. Yeah, it's this has been amazing, like, because I think this is my first, what I'm saying, encounter, on this show, speaking across the water, across the pond, as y'all would say, and I just thank you so much. It kind of this is different right here.
They're different, absolutely. So
Yes.
I'm all about that, and it's really good to hear
Mhm.
your open-eared
Yes.
kind of approach to the whole thing, because not
Uh-huh.
everyone's like
Yes.
that these days,
Yeah.
So it's really great. Me too,
Yeah, music is like expression. It's not just like something you could just grab and touch, but it's also something that could grab and touch you though. So it's just that aspect of it, and then just limiting to yourself to one kind of set of music or one only piece, like or just like a piano player that only know how to play one key. You know, it's like, nah, you got to be well versed because like what I do in my music, like it's the love, the motivation, the power, the peace that we can find within each other or for each other. I can't always have that if I'm always thinking about hardcore rap. You know, I got to be able to think about the Maxwells, or I got to know something about a New Edition, or how we spoke about the Beatles. You know, who what John Lennon represent and stuff like that. I got to be able to know about that, because if not, then I would be doing a disservice to my art and the rest of the world that I give my music to.
Beautifully put. Wow, that's really compelling stuff, man. Thank you.
Yeah.
I feel honored to be listening to it.
Nah, the honor is mine. I thank you so much for coming on today. On this show, Grind Music Repeat, because if it ain't about music, we really can't use it. We like to send messages of like affirmation or love out. You got anybody you want to send some love to?
Oh, well, that's a question that I hadn't thought about.
Yeah.
In terms of the people who might be watching this, I'll say hello to
Yeah.
all my X posse. X is a rather vibrant
Uh-huh.
platform, and everybody on there
Yeah.
knows,
Yeah.
you know, the people
Mhm.
that I talk about and
Yeah.
say hello to. So hello, X posse.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Shout out to them right there. That's nice. You said y'all the
Sweet Assassin, my
yes.
first band. Yeah.
Yeah, Sweet Assassin. Okay.
Not Sweet
Okay, man.
Assassin.
Yeah. That's how I would say it. Like,
All
and
right.
then that, like you were saying, like as far as like the manipulation of the English language, it's like you can master it, and then it's like, how would you be saying what you saying? And then it's like that, and then that's the part about the art, and then you just got those kind of like double entendres just kind of sewed in there, and it's like if you listen carefully, you might could pick something up different, and that's I love that right there. I love that.
That's the trick of good rap, isn't it? Absolutely. I couldn't agree
Yes.
more, man.
I thank you again for coming on. This right here is truly an honor, and I thank you so much. This is from North Carolina, from America, all the way crossed over there to Sussex, England. You know what I'm saying? And this is Draquan, Mr. Sean B.W. Parker, and I thank you so much coming on right now on the show, Grind Music Repeat, before the holiday season. I don't know if you celebrate holiday season like that around this time, but I want to say happy holidays to you and yours and your family. And I pray all of those endeavors that you working on, they come to fruition, and they come to some great, bountiful success for you.
Thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure to be here, and thank you for the lovely messages.
World Series law number 1.